All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving into the analysis for Friday, October 31st, 2025, and we're on the hunt for one thing: goals. Lots and lots of goals. And we've got a whopping 16 matches on our radar, stretching all the way from top leagues in Europe to the Super League in Asia, all showing serious potential for a goal fest. But hey, just handing you a list is boring, right? We're going to dig a little deeper. Instead, we'll explore the source material to uncover the patterns, the common threads that lead to games packed with goals. So what are they? So first up, we've got the classic scenario, the attacking mismatch. You know the type. A powerhouse team at home, absolutely firing on all cylinders, up against a team whose defense, well, tends to crumble on the road. And our first case study? We're heading to the Dutch Eredivisie. You've got the Giants, PSV Eindhoven, hosting Fortuna Sittard. I mean, even before you look at the stats, this one just screams mismatch. And the analysis really backs this up. It calls PSV a goal machine at home. We're talking an average of nearly 3 goals per match. Fortuna's defense, it's just not built to handle that kind of relentless firepower. Okay, next up, let's jump over to a cup match in Portugal. It's a similar dynamic, but with a slightly different twist. We've got Sporting CP, a top-tier team, facing off against Alverca. And this is where something called the quality gap really comes into play. You see this a lot in cup games. It's that massive difference in skill, resources, you name it, between teams from different leagues. The thinking here is that Sporting is so much stronger, they could easily rack up 3 goals all by themselves. And for our last example of this mismatch pattern, we're jetting off to China. This time, it's less about the home crowd and more about the clashing styles of play. Yeah, check this out. It's a classic case of a clinical, sharp attack from Shanghai Shenhua going up against a Shenzhen defense that the source basically calls one of the weakest in the entire league. When you've got that kind of imbalance, you're setting the stage for a seriously lopsided, high-scoring game. All right, pattern number 2. This is where things get really fun. We're talking about games where goals are expected, not because one team is weak, but because both teams just love to attack. And for this, we're looking at a fantastic FA Cup tie over in England. You've got Wrexham, who are known for being absolutely relentless at home, versus a Coventry City team that is just deadly on the counterattack. And this quote from the source just hits the nail on the head. It's all about an end-to-end clash. This isn't a David versus Goliath story. It's 2 fighters going toe-to-toe that almost always leads to an open game where both teams find the back of the net. Now, let's head over to the Saudi Pro League for another great example. The match between Al Hilal and Al Shabab. Wow, this one is just loaded with world-class attacking stars. I mean, just look at Al Hilal's attack. Mitrovic, Neymar, Malcolm, that's some serious firepower. But the key here, as the source points out, is that Al Shabab isn't a team that's just going to park the bus. They play an adventurous attacking style too. That's a recipe for pure entertainment and, you guessed it, goals. Okay, on to our third and final pattern. This one is all about following the data trail. Sometimes the clearest sign of what's to come is just looking at what's already happened. We're looking for teams that are consistently involved in goal fests. So let's go to Poland. We've got a game where one team's recent history tells a very, very loud story. We're zooming in on GKS Katowice, specifically how they perform when they're the visiting team. And yeah, look at this. The pattern is just undeniable. The source notes that every single one of Katowice's last 5 away matches has gone over 2.5 goals. That is not a coincidence. That's a trend you can't really ignore. For our last deep dive, we're heading back to the Netherlands, but this time we're dropping down to the 2nd division. And here, it's not just one team's form we're looking at, it's the season-long stats for both of them. And the numbers here really speak for themselves. Both VVV Venlo and Vitesse are playing in games that average over 3 goals, week in, week out, for the whole season. So when these two get together, well, statistically speaking, another high-scoring game is very, very likely. Okay, so there you have it, the 3 big patterns to look for: the attacking mismatch, the end-to-end battle, and the clear historical trend. Now let's do a quick lightning round of all 16 matches that the analysis flagged. All right, here's the full rundown from the source. In England, Wrexham versus Coventry, and Luton Town versus Forest Green. Over in France, Annecy versus Boulogne, Bastia versus Clermont, Guingamp versus Laval, and Le Mans versus Nancy. From the Netherlands,
VV Venlo versus Vitesse, and of course, PSV versus Fortuna. Hopping over to Poland, Termalika versus Katowice, and Piast Gliwice versus Korona Kielce. In Germany, we've got Münster versus Kiel. Then in China, Shanghai Port versus Jiaxing, Chengdu Rongjing versus Henan, and Shanghai Shenhua versus Shenzhen. And wrapping it up, Al Hilal versus Al Shabab in Saudi Arabia, and Sporting CP versus Al Verca in Portugal. Phew.
And as we wrap this up, there's a really important message from the source. At the end of the day, this kind of analysis is just about finding a deeper way to enjoy the game. So whatever you do, enjoy the football and always, always bet responsibly. So that brings us to the final whistle. We've looked at mismatches, all-out attacking duels, and straight-up data trends. Now I'm curious, which one of those patterns do you find the most compelling? Which one do you trust the most when you're looking for goals? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.